Hi guys, my name is Kristin and this is like an introduction video to introduce ourselves and introduce this curriculum to you guys. And what we're going to talk about in this video is how we got started with keys and like what keys is in a worship band setting and what that looks like. So my story, I'm self-taught. I grew up loving the keyboard. I always just loved pianos, but I never knew how to play them. I had an uncle who is also, I have an uncle, not had. I have an uncle who is also self-taught, and he kind of like got me started and got me, just liking keys. I taught myself. We used to have a ministry here called Jam, and it was every Friday night for middle school. And basically what had happened was we lost a lot of musicians, just different seasons and all that, and we had a meeting down of all of our volunteers, and they were like, we need some people to learn instruments and play on this team because we don't have any musicians. So I was like, well, now's the time to learn keys. Let's do this. So I started from the very beginning, not knowing anything about the piano, and I taught myself to where I am now. So that's my story.
Hi, my name's Anthony Orr. So I kind of have a little bit different background from where she did. But me and Kristin both started worship keys together with a guy that we know. His name's Channing, but we started way back, probably 3 or 4 years ago from now. But so I had more, before I started with Channing, I had more of a classical background. So I had, I started off when I was like around 9 or 10, and I did a lot of scale stuff. I did a lot of, Mozart, Beethoven, stuff like that, stuff that's not very worship-like at all. But so I kind of came in, and I feel bad for saying this now, but I kind of came into the worship style thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. This is going to be like, I can just go in here and whip these out, and these are just chords, like no problem. And I came in here and came out thinking, oh, wow, what I really don't know about the keyboard. So in the next couple of weeks, like, you're going to get to kind of see from a classical aspect from me and from more of a self-taught aspect from Kristin. And so together it's going to be the same material, but it's going to be different perspectives on like how to do the keyboard in a certain sense. But so we just kind of want to introduce ourselves so that way you all know who we are, and so that way we get to meet you later on. So, all right.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about keys in a band setting and what that looks like on stage. So we're going to like each share our different perspectives on that and what it means to us. So for me, I view the keyboard as like the middle ground instrument. You have the bass and the guitars who basically, they run the stage. They do all the rhythm, all of that. They pretty much lead the band, but the keys is what keeps everything steady. As a keys player, you really have to know what you're doing. You have to know your chords. You have to know the songs inwards and outwards and backwards and forwards. Like you keep all the other instruments on time. And you really fill up the empty space that lies between maybe electric guitars that are like way up here, and you fill the space between like bass and electric. You are that middle ground, and you have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of opportunity of that as well. And so that's what makes the keyboard so special to me.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it too. Like, keyboard for me is more of keyboard's one of the instruments that when you're in a down moment and you're kind of, the band's kind of floating along, you're the person that's going to carry it to the next level. So mostly, the keyboard and the drums and the bass guitar, that's kind of your core people, and your acoustic guitar kind of keeps the rhythm, and they kind of keep the chords underneath the piano. And then like the singers of course carry the song, but the piano kind of fills in a lot of that really dead space that guitars really can't do. Like she said, guitars you either have a very, very high guitar, you have some that are middle guitars, and you have like bass. So keyboard is one of those that, you have pretty much every range at your disposal at any time. So I can play something that is way up at the top part of the keyboard that sounds real high, or I can play something very low, something that's going to fill up all that dead space that the guitars and that the drums and the singers can't fill up themselves. But so that's kind of what we're here to do, is kind of teach you how to fill up that space and kind of how to work with the band and be able to know how to voice chords correctly and how to, which we'll talk about later on. We have a lot of time for that, but that's kind of the way we feel about keys.